How's it going, fellas? My name's Andy, and you know how after a player gets a major injury and has to undergo surgery, we usually see the reports say how the surgery was a success. And most of the time, that's the case. Nowadays, with all the medical advancements, most surgeries to repair ligaments or structural damage on certain body parts have a very high chance of success. But what happens when a player gets unsuccessful surgery? What does that mean? Recently, I made a video about Luol Deng's spinal tap procedure, which put his life in danger because he had a spinal fluid leak. That's a good example of a procedure going horribly wrong. The side effects were terrible, and Deng could not play basketball for months. A similar situation happened with Steve Kerr when he got back surgery, which also caused a spinal fluid leak, giving him severe headaches and migraines. This type of results means that the surgery was unsuccessful because the patients felt even worse than before. So what other players have had unsuccessful surgery? Believe it or not, Russell Westbrook has had it before. You might not think so nowadays because he bounced back and still plays at a very high level. But back in 2013, remember this? Yeah, in the first round of the playoffs that year, Patrick Beverley collided with Westbrook's knee, and it was diagnosed that he had a torn meniscus. While it might have not seemed like a big deal because Westbrook got it repaired and then he came back and played just as well as before. But for those who don't remember, Westbrook actually had to get 3 different surgeries to fix that torn meniscus. That seems ridiculous. Usually a torn meniscus requires just one surgery, some rehab time, and then 2 or 3 months later, the player is back on the floor. But in Westbrook's case, the first surgery he had was something called a healing response, which he got shortly after his injury in 2013. He got the surgery at the Stedman Clinic in Vail, Colorado. This healing response procedure was kinda like a microfracture surgery where they would poke holes in the cartilage of the knee and hope that it will naturally heal, as the blood and bone marrow creates blood clots to repair the torn cartilage. Initially, the surgery was fine. Westbrook was doing fine. But then, a couple months later, right before the start of the 2013-14 season, he experienced some swelling in his knee and it was discovered that he had a loose stitch from the first surgery. So he had to get a second surgery to repair the loose stitch. After he rehabbed and recovered from his second surgery, his knee was still sore. That was a big problem. Finally, around Christmas of 2013, Westbrook got a third surgery. This time, it was an arthroscopic surgery and he was out for over 2 months. The third surgery was finally a success and he came back with the same explosiveness and quickness that he's known for. So even though players usually return from a torn meniscus in about 2 or 3 months, Westbrook took about 10 months to fully recover. This was all because the first 2 surgeries were unsuccessful, and his knee did not respond like the doctors thought it would. A similar situation happened to Danilo Gallinari. Back in his days with Denver, Gallinari was known to be very injury prone. He even sat out an entire season because of a torn ACL, and it took him so long to heal because he also got the same procedure as Westbrook. Unfortunately, this healing response surgery from the Stedman Clinic was also unsuccessful for Gallo. In an interview, he stated, "Stedman, it is clear that if I could go back, I would not go to Stedman Clinic. I will write a book on my last year and a half with some things never told. I made a wrong choice, but he was considered one of the best surgeons and his clinic was within an hour's drive from Denver." Yeah, he clearly did not like how Stedman handled that procedure. Fortunately, Gallo would get another surgery to repair his ACL and he was fine after that. So there are also some other cases like with Derrick Rose, who got 4 surgeries in 5 years. However, I wouldn't say his surgeries were unsuccessful because his knees healed fine and there weren't any major complications. The problem with Rose was that after he tore his ACL on his left knee, during rehab, his body was probably overcompensating on his right side. That led to him tearing another ligament in his right knee because he was putting too much pressure on the right side of his body. Yeah, it's unfortunate, but it happens. You know what Charles Barkley said?
Yeah, the operation was a success, but the patient died.
Okay, I'm sorry, Bulls fans. Anyway, the next case we're gonna look at, which is probably the worst case of an unsuccessful surgery, happened to Quincy Pondexter. For those who don't know, Pondexter was forced to sit out the entire 2015 to 2016 and 2016 to 2017 seasons. 2 entire seasons. Between May 2015 and January 2017, Pondexter had 3 arthroscopic knee surgeries on his left knee, because it just wasn't responding that well and he still felt a lot of soreness and pain. At one point, he couldn't even walk up the stairs by himself. The 3rd surgery was the worst, as it caused a life-threatening infection. Pondexter said, quote, "My knee wasn't making progress, but then there was this pain in a certain area that we couldn't get over. Again, I tried to do everything possible to play. I tried to pass physicals, I tried to do everything. And a year of rehab, we didn't know what to do. I was trying to play, and a few days later, it just took a real turn for the worse, where I woke up and my knee was swollen, like a watermelon." Yikes, that sounds horrible. After getting the fluid drained from his knee, he discovered that he had an infection called MRSA. A skin infection that could lead to death if he didn't get treatment immediately. Fortunately, Pondexter was able to get it treated successfully, but he was still hospitalized for a month. What's even worse is that because he missed 2 full seasons with the New Orleans Pelicans and nobody really knew what was going on with him, a lot of fans were upset that he was not playing. Pondexter said that he would look on Twitter and see people say things like, "He's stealing money and he's just chilling at home," even though he was actually battling for his life. But he did not want to make it public because he didn't want people to feel sorry for him. Pondexter just continued to work and get back onto the court, and that's what he did. After getting traded to the Bulls, he returned to the court for the first game of the 2017-18 season, and he scored 8 points. Out of all the unsuccessful surgeries in recent history, Quincy Pondexter definitely got the worst end of it. His comeback story was incredible, and it's great to see him back on the floor. Anyway, that sums up the video. I wanted to make this video because many times when a player ends up having unsuccessful surgery, it's rarely ever talked about. In cases like these, the players need 2 or 3 more surgeries to feel normal again, before they can play basketball again. It's a tough process, but you know, it happens. Thank you everyone so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed that video, and I'll see you next time. Peace.